allowed me to write a poem about the cursed disaster that I'd wanted to write years before, but couldn't find a way. And then something you said in one of your poems or something in our emails, produced that poem out of nowhere. So that was a great win for me. And another great win is publishing with you now, having seen Broken Sleep Press do so brilliantly over the last few years. And I felt this poem might be right for you, and I was absolutely delighted that you felt the same way. It's a single longish poem. It's kind of a travelogue. It's also a memoir. It's a bit of a fugue away from the horror of English politics into the phantasm of language. And it's also kind of anti-fascist, love letter to my Irish aunties and my Irish ancestors and family. And it's really just a kind of crazy journey. And I'm glad that you were able to fuel it with some diesel iron. It's very hard to get at the moment. So I'm going to read 3 little sections: the opening of the poem, something from the middle, and then something from towards the end, but not the very end, because I don't want to give away the shock, twist, and reveal. So Iarnród Éireann, which basically means Irish railroad. It's the Irish equivalent of British Rail, really, but it's in the Gaelic is so beautiful compared to the English. Iarnród Éireann. The Spanish-Italian border was dismantled overnight, and the next day, rusting flatbeds, snakes of freight, metal fatigued as all fuck, groaned into view, uncoiling wire, pitching barriers, angle grinding watchtowers and turrets with migraine sparks, and the English Nazi border was christened with street parties of rippers and crippins and Mosleys and whorehordes. My heart had long lapsed, too expensive to renew, the biometrics broken down, but I had my mother's papers and the code words she swaddled in lullabies now lost but not forgotten. To Dublin then, with McCabe the assassin, on one of the last helicopters out of Saigon, a DC-3 out of West Berlin, an old crate out of Silvertown, wings and fuselage clogged by imperial sugarwork, a sticky crash landing in the Liffey, doggy paddling down the Dodder till we found a wharf to gorge on Gorgonzola with grinning green teeth and a bottle of Burgundy from a sommelier who left no reflection as the mirror food floated through orders. Fade to black with matte glasses of banter black Guinness, the most profound material known to man, pints of vertical carbon nanotube horizontally aligned by the end of the day, a substance so dark it would razor off Narcissus's physog and wear it to Carnivale, a liquid so dense it sequesters 1,000 millennia of shipwrecks in a fleck of quantum foam, a gaze so unflinching it could mine your deepest buried obscenities and post them on the hymnboard of every church in Ireland, a drink so light-sapping your lips tingle with hawking radiation as you place the Kubrick monolith back onto the beer mat, and from its depths we conjured an extempore lament, the gallows dodging McCabe and I. I hate it when people jump off the right bridge but land in the wrong river. I hate it when people take money from other countries but sell their loan words. I hate it when the power of Christ compels wrapping paper. I hate it when you blanch at the thought of a feral hedgehog in the Languedoc. I hate it when rapacious lyricists eulogize Yorkshire womanizers. I hate it when people are devoted to pure sky-fucking jouissance. I hate it when men with wide ties don't share their sandwiches. I hate it when people invoice me at midnight. I hate it when your €10 looks like a grilled rasher. I hate it when people conflate a sausage crucifix with a breakfast get-out. I hate it that 5 Guys Named Mo on Grey Velvet is not a Jallo musical. I hate it when you send me your annual syntax bill. I hate it when they say the son's death will seal a trade deal with Proxima Centauri. I hate it when the receipt number for 10 Guinness is 13. And McCabe the assassin there is a composite character. It's Chris McCabe, the poet, is a dear friend of mine who was with me in Dublin that day and co-wrote those lines. It's also kind of side character mentioned in one of Samuel Beckett's early stories, Dante and the Lobster, a condemned man who's just mentioned in passing, which instantly became Chris McCabe's nickname years and years ago. So I'm going to leap into the kind of center of the poem. We've now moved from London to Dublin to Limerick, which is where my mother was born, and having lunch with an auntie of mine who had Alzheimer's at the time and I hadn't seen for about 30 years. I think my auntie knows me. There's a moment of alignment, equilibrium, as her eye balances on the beam like a pill of air in a spirit level. Don't look left to the past. Don't look right to the future. Let's hold this gaze of present time, this airlock, this quarantine pod. Switch off the tick-tock of loss, the fall of cells through the hourglass that links the quick and the dead. Quick, this bubble will burst, but while we're here, tell me one thing from your life. Push one seed into the soil of time, one tendril whose skein unspools to the big bang. Tell me what makes you, you. Pluck one spore that was all yours. No parents, no sisters, no husband, no children, no nuns, no priests, no doctors, no saints, no guardi, no pets, no errands to run. Nobody's needs to shunt yours into the ditch. So now, so begins Heaney's Beowulf near us, damn it. And I'm cross-legged in a Yorkshire classroom, the pose of a yogic skull and crossbones. Dog end of the day, a murdering cloud of a dull west nab raining ashes of missing children on the moors. The Canadian substitute teacher makes fresh popcorn. As we stuff our old world mouths with untasted delights, she horripilates us with Grendel's attack on a hair rot, seizing 30 souls from sleep to roast them alive at home and gorge on thighs, buttocks, livers, hearts, lips, eyeballs. The standard fireworks shed explodes on the dissolved line of the hill, and my best friend's sister loses 2 fingers packing trays of Roman candles and mine of serpents into cardboard boxes for the newsagents of Huddersfield. Each time I prized the tight square lid off a biscuit tin, like cracking open a casket in The Mummy, I thought I might find her charred fingers in the molded plastic slot where the bourbon should be. Biscuits were life buoys against the dread tides of night. One more cup of tea at 9 o'clock, a bribe to hoodwink mum and dad to stay up past the watershed, but more often than not, I was sunk and lay in bed by a damp wall, trying not to notice the twisted faces in the wardrobe doors, the grimaces of the damned in the tortoiseshell marbling with its ghoulish reflections, tongues of hell and melting monsters. Nowhere was safe. Nowhere is safe. Grendel burst into the classroom that numb November day, late gasp of the year, the sunsetting of childhood. I'm going to read one of the later passages in the book. By now, the whole concept of home is very scrambled in my mind and in the poem. So now, I'm home. Not home, home, but here home. A home withdrawn to its hole in the skirting board of history, afraid of dinghies, of landings, invasions, brewing traps for its monoglot tongue, gnawing off wishbone thin limbs, collecting a small pile of porous bones that will be melted by snowflakes come winter. And winter is here. And winter is when I return in new shoes, shoes for life, a lifetime guarantee, a marketing spasm that will shoe my feet into the grave for free because her sister is gone and auntie is lost, a plot hole revealed. Back onto the Iarnród, spare the rod and spoil the child. But first my feet across Beckett's Bridge, razor through the optic nerve of the Liffey, Bunwellian architecture, an ice skate through the cow eye of moon. Orwell hated La Sagrada Familia, but you can't be right all the time. Sometimes a mason's red-hot chip catches you in the throat. Farewell to my familiars, Mercier and Camier. Hello to whomever's birth was the death of them. Baron Samedi plunging the engine into Freudian tunnels of bubbling black mud, a skeleton service, south by southwest, rushing more out of fear of being late for the start of the end than from dread of the end kicking off before I'm too late. I'm back too soon. This is all supposed to be done and dusted. The sacred family bonds piped close with caramel and tooth enamel. The tooth fairy is a monster in her world, her cave strewn with chap-fallen Act 5 gags, traces of gums. We're getting on. There are no sixth acts in Anglo-Irish lives. And so the long day closes, the road runs out, the buffers dissolve, the sleepers separate like spliced DNA giving up the ghost. The station was a green screen, the carriages cad lines in a blank simulation with no OD matrix. We're astonished to be gathered again. Cousins try to recognize each other after decades of loving neglect, flick through the Rolodex of buried anecdotes, blushing crushes, stitches and grazes in the A&E department of confused memory. I break the panopticon by smashing every mirror. They piece me back together in the fragments of their eyes. My dad crawls out of the ground and begs me for a piggyback. I carry him along with this coffin, this new weighty loss, this hod load of absent bricks that curves the spine and dislocates the shoulder. Pallbearers sob. I've heard this sound before. I watch my shoes, black shoes tracking from consecrated tile to municipal tarmac, to patchwork pathway, to disturbed soil. Open up the ground again, delve into the insect's world. Earth felt the wound. Zooms, the last thing you need is a funeral. Thank you very much for listening, everyone.